Self-compassion is sort of this concern, I guess in a nutshell, it's this concern about the alleviation of suffering combined with a motivation to do something about that. And so the way you basically do that is that you treat yourself with the same kindness, support, gratitude, validation that you would a close friend, or usually, especially with moms, or your child. So you're giving yourself that same level of grace. Kristen Neff is a psychologist who does a lot of research on self-compassion, and she's kind of like the guru of self-compassion. And she kind of breaks it down into these three different components of actually what goes into it, that it's this combination of mindfulness, kindness, but then also a connection to humanity. So if you were in a moment and you were trying to figure out how to be self-compassionate to yourself, you would be mindful of your present emotion. And so you would kind of like take awareness of, I'm in pain right now. This is a painful moment. Or I'm noticing a feeling of blank, of sadness, of anger. And without trying to judge it or minimize it and dismiss it, or kind of like revel in it like we sometimes do and replay it over and over, you just acknowledge it. And then you move into that kind, validating space of soothing. And of course you feel this way. It's understandable for you to feel this way. Or that makes sense. Like you're having a hard time. So you kind of like talk to yourself and like soothe yourself. And then it also, the piece that I love about self-compassion, at least the way that she describes it, is that you then remind yourself that you are connected to other people in the sense that we're all imperfect and everybody struggles, and pain is a part of life. It's a part of the human experience. So sometimes we get down on ourselves, like, I'm the only person who struggles like this. Or like I was telling you before, I had this thought that like other moms are out here just having a ball, and I, for some reason, am struggling with it. And it must be because, and then you start telling yourself all these stories about who you are.
Yeah.
But the humanity piece is kind of like, no, we all struggle to different degrees in different ways. And so maybe I can give myself a break because I'm a human and humans are imperfect.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all three of those things are in tandem when you are practicing self-compassion.
Is someone who's low on self-compassion, is that their kind of go-to, is to just not acknowledge and try and get rid of it?
Yes, typically. So it could be, I think that's kind of like a very common reaction, is to just like try to put the feelings away, especially if you don't have much time to really deal with stuff anyway. It's like, it seems like that's going to be more of a burden if you really embrace it. If you're low on self-compassion though, typically, yeah, for some reason or another, either you're actively pushing the emotion away, or you're getting, the other like kind of extreme is that you're getting so fused with that emotion that it turns into like a full-on shame spiral. I'm awful. This is terrible. This is the worst. Why is my life like this? Why is it so unfair? Why am I, and then maybe even you at that point become less effective because maybe you're in bed now all day, or you're depressed, or you're using a substance to just like numb out because it feels so overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So it could be either way. If you're low in self-compassion, you could be getting way too into that suffering, or you could be pushing it away entirely and just not really acknowledging what's happening with you.
Interesting. It makes me think about any time that I post something that, you think is going to be an unpopular thing to post, or, I feel like, oh, like people are going to be like, what? Like you feel that way? And then, for example, like what was it, last week or something, I posted about how I'm always really happy when my husband is home, because for some reason, like I don't like being home alone with my toddler. And so I mentioned something like that on my stories, and so many people, I've never gotten so many responses in my life, were like, oh my God, I feel the exact same way. I thought I was the only one. And it's almost like we're nervous to tell other moms about certain feelings that we have. And that kind of makes me think about this self-compassion thing, acknowledging it and then being like, well, why do I feel that way? And then it's like, well, yeah, it makes sense that I feel that way, but it's
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
you don't want to say it out loud because you're like, oh, people are going to think I'm, you know, I don't enjoy being a mom or I don't love my kid. And it's like, no, that's not what it is at all. And to give yourself that grace and acknowledgement of, no, I feel that way and that's okay.